All right, guys, I am live. The Chiefs traded up, and I just now noticed they're on the clock here at 21. I'm on Twitter right now also trying to see who the pick is. So it looks like the Chiefs traded with the Patriots. I'm going to be curious to see the compensation I'm going to be curious to see what the compensation was when they traded up. But I will say that a lot of Chiefs fans have been talking about Jermaine Johnson, the defensive end from Florida State. He seems like a likely pick here. He's fallen a lot. He was seen as a top 20 prospect before the draft began. He's still available here at 21 where the Chiefs are picking. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the pick. And I'll have my thoughts on it after if it actually happens, but we'll see who they pick. Yeah. Also, I mean, I'm on Twitter, so if you guys want to say who it is in the comments and you find out, go ahead and let me know, and I will react. Oh, I think I just found it. Okay, the Chiefs will select Washington cornerback Trent Mcduffie with the number 21 overall pick. The knock on McDuffie is his size and length, but he has the kind of production that warrants overlooking those concerns. So, wow. The Chiefs traded the 29th overall pick. And I didn't see it. It went away on my screen. Okay, but first of all, Trent Mcduffie. I can't believe they traded up for a cornerback, to be honest with you guys. I'm looking on the screen now. Roger Goodell is announcing it. Yep, Trent Mcduffie. It's confirmed by Roger Goodell. That is the selection. Trent McDuffie, cornerback from Washington. So I'm actually shocked that they traded up for a cornerback. Out of all the positions I could have seen them trading up for, cornerback is probably one of the ones I would have, of their biggest needs, like wide receiver or defensive end. I thought for sure they would trade up for a guy like that. But instead they go cornerback, and they go with Trent McDuffie, who admittedly is one of the better cornerbacks in this draft. I'm just really surprised they traded up for him, though, and I'm surprised he's the pick at 21 over a defensive end or a cornerback. Or a wide receiver, excuse me, especially with the way the wide receiver board has fallen. So, yeah, it's Trent McDuffie from Washington. What do you guys think? Let me know. I'll give you a few seconds to put something in the chat. I like the player. I like the prospect. I'm not sure why a trade up was necessary. And, taking him over Andrew Booth. That's a risk. The nice thing is, though, if I read the screen correctly, because I'm still trying to get the full terms from the trade – I'm trying to find the terms from the trade, but it seems like here we go. From Nate Taylor of The Athletic. The Chiefs traded the 29th, 94th, and 121st pick to move up to 21. After the move, the Chiefs selected Washington cornerback Trent McDuffie. And so they still have their other first-round pick for the night. But Trent McDuffie is the pick at 21. They traded up for a cornerback. Honestly, I'm shocked because, as you guys know, the Brett Veach model for years now was to go cheap at corner, look at later prospects, day 2 and 3 prospects in the draft, and pick them up for cheap on the free agent market. This is Brett Veach's now second first-round pick in his tenure as GM, and he picks a cornerback, a position that he hasn't invested highly in for years. But McDuffie, like said on the broadcast or on the tweet that I read, a little bit undersized, but really good athletic traits, really good production at Washington. And what I will say as well is that Washington does produce really, really good defensive backs. We know that from Marcus Peters. They selected Marcus Peters from Washington. And they produced several other guys such as Kevin King, Taylor Rapp, guys like that. really good prospects coming up. Washington is a defensive back factory, and again, Marcus Peters was one of them. I like Trent McDuffie. I like the pick, and this team needed corners. I mean, when you talk about need, this pick definitely fills a need. The Chiefs needed a cornerback. They had lost Charvarius Ward this offseason, who I know they really liked, and they tried to re-sign, but he got a little bit too expensive, and now the only corners you had on roster were L'Jarius Sneed and Rashad Fenton. You still have DeAndre Baker. I think I haven't given up on DeAndre Baker yet as maybe a serviceable depth corner, but really all you had was Rashad Fenton, L'Jarius Sneed. So Trent McDuffie coming into this cornerback room is a very good injection of talent. And yes, I like the fact that the pick is for the defense because we know this defense really needs help. I'm surprised it wasn't maybe Kyer Elam or Andrew Booth, but McDuffie is also a very good prospect. I thought it for sure was going to be Jermaine Johnson, though. When I saw they were on my screen that they were about to pick, I thought for sure it was going to be Jermaine Johnson, but nope, it's Trent McDuffie. I might as well stay on till the Chiefs' next pick because they pick again at 30. Now, if they don't come out of this first round, though, with a defensive end, then I will be kind of concerned because I think the drop-off at defensive end is pretty substantial after the first round and the early second round, and the Chiefs also still need a receiver. So after tonight, they're not going to have one of those two, a receiver or a defensive end. They're probably going to get one of them, but not both of them. And they also traded one of their third-round picks and a fourth-round pick, I think. So that's a little bit of a steep price to move up, 8 spots or so? But they do get a player that they like. Just to refresh you guys on Trent McDuffie, because we know that the Chiefs are trying to add youth and athleticism to this team, not just on defense, but the team in general. Trent McDuffie, if I look up his RAS numbers, I know he had a very good combine. I'll try to share my screen with you guys, though, so we can go over it. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to try to share my screen so we can look at it together. Okay, here we go. So I believe you guys will be able to see this with me. Trent McDuffie scored a 9.49 RAS out of a possible 10, which ranked 103 out of 2,001 cornerbacks from 1987 to 2022. The big knock on him was his size, so his height and weight is not great. But if you look at everything else, he's a great athlete. He had a 38.5-inch vertical. He had a great broad jump. His 40-yard dash, he runs a 4.4, so he's going to be able to keep up with some of the faster receivers. He's a good athlete. He adds that youth and athleticism to this defense. As Braden says in the chat, 24 years old already. It's older for a draft prospect, but we did know that this draft was going to be some older guys because COVID messed a lot of things up and a lot of players returned to school and there was a lot of mess with the rosters and how they were constructed. But, at the end of the day, you try to get the best players you can. And while 24 is a little bit older, you can live with that. My only concern with it is not totally sure we had to trade up for him. I'll be interested to see if any reports come out in the near future that the Chiefs had to jump another team to get him, which is possible. it's possible that the Chiefs were hearing that other teams are interested in him, and so they had to pay a little bit of a premium to go up and get him, which is fine because it means they get the guy that they wanted. They didn't give up an insane haul to move up, a third-round pick, and I think a fourth-round pick it was. That's not too bad. You still have another third-round pick. You still have your other first and 2 seconds. That's a great haul of picks. You filled your cornerback need, or at least one of your cornerback needs. I think they probably need 2 corners, but that's good so far. I thought for sure that they were going to stick at 29 and 30 the way the board was falling, but Jermaine Johnson is still available. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Jermaine Johnson, but if he is still there by their next pick, I might consider it. I like him over Karlaftis, and they need a defensive end. I wasn't a huge fan of Jermaine Johnson because I think he's a plus run defender, but has a lot of work to do as a pass rusher. He kind of reminded me of Frank Clark a lot. I didn't really want another Frank Clark on this team, so I'm not super high on Jermaine Johnson, but again, adding youth and athleticism to this defense, and he would fill a need at defensive end. And at pick number 30, I would understand it. At least you didn't have to trade up for him. I mean, in this hypothetical. Sorry I popped up the stream kind of late. I was assuming that I would just wait till pick 29 and 30, and then I saw all of a sudden on my screen that the Chiefs were moving up and they were on the clock. So jumped on real quick, and at least you guys got my reaction to the pick as I learned what it was. Paul says, not sure why they didn't get that big receiver. I assume you're talking about Pickens. Pickens, the way the board is falling, they might be able to get him with their next pick if they still really want him, assuming you're talking about Pickens because he is a bigger receiver. But again, it's also possible that they had to jump some other teams to get McDuffie. And Kyer Elam goes to the Bills. So now you're starting to see a run of corners, which makes that trade up look more reasonable because it's very possible the Bills also liked McDuffie, and instead they go Elam. You're starting to see a run of cornerbacks, and the Chiefs jumped on it early, and they got their guys. So I can respect that. And for those of you that really like Jermaine Johnson, he might still be available at 30, the way it's looking. But like I said, I think the Chiefs will have to go defensive end with their next pick because I think they have to come out of tonight with a defensive end. Like, I think they have to grab one, especially since they probably have to double up on defensive end. That said, that would mean wide receiver would have to wait until tomorrow night. Not sure how I feel about that because I think even though the Chiefs have been able to add some solid receivers to this group like MVS and Juju this offseason, and you still have McCole Hardman, I think you still need another quality option. So you're looking at the Sky Moores, George Pickens maybe if he's still there. We'll see, though. Looks like Marlon wants to come on. Marlon, I might be able to let you on. I have to find my headphones, though, so I don't have feedback going through my mic. Give me 1 second. Slim says he's not worried about our wide receivers. I'm not necessarily worried about them, but I still think they need another quality option because I think a lot of people are putting a lot of pressure on McCole Hardman again next year when he had pressure on him last year just to be a wide receiver too, and he couldn't even do that. And now he's supposed to fill the Tyreek Hill role. I'm not so sure about that. Excuse me. But that said, they massively upgraded at wide receiver 2 and 3 with MVS and Juju. But again, still think they need another quality option in there. Another comment I have about receivers tonight, though, is that you're starting to see Hollywood Brown got traded from the Ravens. He probably wanted a new contract. A.J. Brown got traded to the Eagles from the Titans tonight. We know he wanted a new contract. You're starting to see a lot of these receivers, ever since that Davonte Adams trade and that Tyreek Hill trade, start to be traded from the teams that they were on after they demanded a new contract. Deebo Samuel hasn't been traded yet, but he demanded a trade. He claims it wasn't about money. I think it has something to do with money, though, just a little bit. But obviously it doesn't look like he'll be staying in San Francisco. I think you're starting to see now the league start to side with the Chiefs and Packers. We're not going to pay these receivers quarterback money. We'd rather trade these guys away and draft their replacement. And you saw the Titans do that. They traded away A.J. Brown, and they picked Treylon Burks with their pick that they had. So I thought that was interesting. So it looks like the Chiefs got out ahead of it early, and the haul that they got for Tyreek Hill is a lot bigger than any of these teams are now getting for their receivers, especially since now we're on the night of the draft and deadlines make deals. Slim also says no pass rush in that Super Bowl beatdown versus the Bucs. That was miserable. We saw glimpses of what we could look like with a pass rush. I definitely agree. A lot of people talk about the offensive line in that game because it was the biggest reason that they lost. However, the defensive line was equally as awful. Tom Brady was pressured the least he had ever been pressured in a Super Bowl. 4 pressures. And Frank Clark also didn't show up in that game. And the Chiefs lacked anything outside of Chris Jones, which has been a major problem the last few years. Chris Jones is the only respectable pass rusher on this line. That can't be the case again next year. And we got a tweet from Trent McDuffie, excited about joining the Chiefs. So that's nice. It's nice when the players jump on immediately to talk about their team that they just got drafted to. I really like the pick, though, and I like Washington defensive backs. Going to see if there's any more news on Twitter, anything we can expect from the Chiefs as their pick is coming up again pretty soon. I'm just really surprised that the Chiefs actually traded up to get a cornerback. Like, I'm not saying that cornerback was an unlikely pick. I could have totally seen them coming out with a cornerback in the first round tonight or early in this draft. I'm surprised they traded up for one just because of the way Brett Veach has treated the cornerback position for so many years. I'll tell you what, though, guys. I'm going to hop offline for a few minutes, and then as we get closer to the Chiefs pick, though, I'll be right back on here, and I will react to their next pick, whoever that may be. Or if they were for some reason to trade up again, I'll be right back on here. But I'm going to go ahead and go offline for a minute. You guys can hang around if you want to or come back around the same time if you want to react with me or see how I react to the next Chiefs pick. But I'll be back in just a little bit. All right, guys, I am back. The Jets are on the clock at 26. I know we still have a little ways to go before the Chiefs pick again. I think I might be able to get Michael Darcy on from KC Sports Report to talk about the McDuffie pick and live react to the Chiefs' next pick. It looks like the Jets, though, are going to take Jermaine Johnson with this next pick. So his slide finally ends. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, and I said this earlier. I don't really think Jermaine Johnson falling to 26 is all that unreasonable. To me, he wasn't that good of a prospect. I think he has a ways to go as a pass rusher, and he's a good run defender. Again, reminds me a little bit of Frank Clark, but not an elite prospect by any means, not a blue chip guy by any means. So now the thing we got to watch is I really hope the Chiefs don't take George Karlaftis with pick number 30 because he was mocked to the Chiefs a lot. He's someone that's probably going to be available at pick 30. I do not like George Karlaftis. He can't bend. He can't move laterally. He has a very low ceiling, and that pick would be very underwhelming to me, even though he definitely seems like a Spags guy. All right, so it sounds like Michael's going to be on right after our next pick. So I'll be able to get Michael on from KC Sports Report, and we'll talk about the two picks, so that'll be fun. But for now, we will wait and see what happens with these next few picks before the Chiefs select. I am thinking that the Chiefs definitely got to go defensive end with their next pick. They got to come out from tonight with a defensive end on this roster because, I mean, they need bodies, they need talent. Wide receiver can probably afford to wait. Now here we have Roger Goodell officially announcing the Jermaine Johnson pick. I also wouldn't rule out the Chiefs maybe taking an interior defensive lineman with their next pick. Even though I'd really like them to get an edge, it wouldn't surprise me if interior defensive line is also an option. A couple names, Travis Jones and Davonte Wyatt. Davonte Wyatt, kind of surprised he hasn't gone yet. I know his Georgia counterpart, Jordan Davis, already went to the Eagles, which, by the way, the Eagles have had a heck of a night with getting A.J. Brown and then Jordan Davis. Those are two huge additions to both sides of the ball. And Jordan Davis was pretty clearly the number one defensive tackle in this draft, too. I'm also kind of sad the Kayvon Thibodeau dream quickly died after the Giants picked earlier this draft. I talked about him like a guy that could maybe go in later in the top 10 and maybe the Chiefs trade up for him, but that dream died quickly. The Jets have actually had a pretty good draft too. Garrett Wilson and now Jermaine Johnson. And then who else did they pick? I'm blanking on the name. Who else did the Jets pick? Sauce Gardner. That's right. Yeah, that's a really good draft for them. I know my friend who's a Seahawks fan. He really wanted Sauce Gardner with the Seahawks pick, but it was a long shot. He would last till then. But again, though, refreshing on the McDuffie pick. I really like it, guys, honestly, because here's the thing. He's young and athletic. Chiefs needed that. He had a good college career, was good in college. That's always a good sign that a player's good when they actually produce at the college level. He fills a massive need. Obviously, cornerback was a massive need. And the trade-up price was fair. They didn't give up too much to go up and get him, and they blocked the Bills from getting him, who the Bills probably would have picked him if not for us. I think it's a good pick, and I saw some people complaining about it. I like it though. I really do. And then a quick stat from PFF College on Twitter. Trent McDuffie is one of 3 FBS cornerbacks with 80-plus grades in the last 2 seasons. And actually, real quick, I'll go ahead and read you guys McDuffie's stat line. So as a sophomore, he was technically a sophomore with Washington in 2021 because of the way eligibility works in college and everything now. But last year for Washington, McDuffie had 35 total tackles, 4 for a loss, a sack, and then he had 6 passes defended. Also, throughout his career, he had 94 total tackles, 4.5 for a loss, 2 interceptions, and 8 passes defended, 3 fumble recoveries also. Really athletic. Again, maybe a little bit undersized, but he's very athletic and ran a 4.4 at the combine. So he should be able to keep up with some of those faster receivers. I think he's a perfect pairing with L'Jarius Sneed, who will probably stay in the slot. McDuffie, he's a versatile cornerback. That's another thing about him. Can play inside, can play outside as well. Nice having versatility with your defensive backs. And despite being a little bit slighter, I do think McDuffie can play on the outside. Whenever I watched him, I did see him put in good reps on the outside. So I really like it. I think I would rather stick Sneed in the slot because I think that's where Sneed is best. Fenton can play some nickel corner, and then McDuffie, as a rookie, can play all over the field. I think so. And I think the Chiefs are trying to be more versatile with their secondary. Justin Reed is another one who's like, he can play all over the field. He played free safety, strong safety. Juan Thornhill, he played cornerback in college. He played the Tyrann Mathieu role at the beginning of last year. He can play free safety. McDuffie can play all over the field. L'Jarius Sneed played safety in college. So the Chiefs have a lot of guys that they can do a lot of things with. McDuffie just adds another weapon to their arsenal. And cornerback was a massive need, guys. It really was. I said they probably need not just 1, but 2 corners in this draft. So McDuffie is a good start. The board's falling nicely for pick number 30, though. You could still get Pickens. You could get Arnold Ebiketie, Boy Mafe. We'll see, though. We'll see who's available. It's probably going to be a little bit longer until we get to the Chiefs pick here at 30, and I'm going to have Michael on after that. So I'm probably going to head off the line one more time, and then I will come back for you guys right when the Chiefs are about to pick, right when they're on the clock, and we'll react to it together. So I'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, so I'm back because the Patriots are on the clock, but on Twitter it already came out who the Patriots are selecting. They're selecting Cole Strange, the guard. So that means we should be finding out about the Chiefs pick here relatively soon. And they're up right now. Yeah, see, the Patriots pick is already in on the TV, so the Chiefs pick is right around the corner. We are pretty much there. It really feels like that the Chiefs are going to take George Karlaftis here. I hope they don't, because as you guys know, he was in my do not draft video in the first round that I made the other day, and I think he's just a math player, good technique and good college player, but I don't love the athleticism, and I think he's got a lower ceiling. Could the Chiefs go for a receiver here, though? I don't know, but I really feel like they got to come out of this round with a defensive end. I think it'd be really risky if they went into day 2 with still no new defensive ends on the team. You've got Frank Clark, Mike Dana, Joshua Kano as your room right now. Do you really want to risk that and a day 2 or 3 rookie joining this team, and that's your pass rush next year? That can't be the answer. We'll see, though. We will see. There's also the possibility they trade up again tomorrow. Oh, no. Oh, no. They did it. They did it. They did the one thing I told them not to do. The one defensive end I told them not to pick. George Karlaftis. The Chiefs select edge rusher George Karlaftis from Purdue with the number 30 overall selection in the first round of the NFL draft. Dang it. They just cannot stay away from the Spags thresholds. They cannot stay away from the guys that Steve Spagnuolo likes, and I don't know why. Guys, this was a defensive pass rush that lacked athleticism and lacked juice. Adding George Karlaftis does not change that. He cannot bend around the edge. I do not like this pick. I do not like this pick very much. And look, I'll give Karlaftis a chance, but I don't like this. I mean, they needed a defensive end, but I'm going to be curious to see what Michael has to say about this one. Wow, they actually did it. Someone in the comments selling me on Karlaftis. I put Karlaftis in my do not draft video, but somebody sell me on him. If you're watching this right now and you like George Karlaftis, tell me why I should like him. Christian, I see you just joined the pick. It is pick. We're on pick 30 now. The Chiefs are on the clock, but it's already been said on Twitter that they are taking George Karlaftis. I just don't love it. If you watch his tape, he cannot move laterally. He cannot bend around the edge. Again, good technique, good hand placement. Was good at the college level, but I think he's a low ceiling player, and I don't think he adds the juice that this pass rush needed. Oh, man. You know, I knew this is what they were going to do. I knew this is what they were going to do. I didn't want it to happen, but I knew that this is what they were going to do. And now I just have to accept it. I should have accepted it earlier, but I have to accept it now. George Karlaftis is coming to the Chiefs. I don't love it because of his ability around the edge. But look, he wins with power. He wins with power. He's good with his hands. And he's a Spags guy, even though I don't really think being a Spags guy should be as big of a requirement as it is for this Chiefs defense. Karlaftis has a high floor. I just don't think his ceiling is very high. And I don't love the pick. Like, I'll give the pick a chance. I don't hate Karlaftis. Like I said that in the video, like, I don't hate Karlaftis. And at least you know he's a safe pick. You know what you're getting with him. It's just a very mad pick when this team really lacks the athleticism in the Chiefs. I just don't think he's that threat on the edge that the Chiefs need opposite of Frank Clark. We'll see, though. We'll see, because, look, I'm sure they'll select another defensive end before this draft is over. Connor says, honestly, I don't get what they see in him. He's strong but lacks the agility. They could have gotten more by re-signing Melvin Ingram. And look, re-signing Melvin Ingram is still an option. Let's keep that in mind. But regarding the former part of your statement, I agree. I agree. Roger Goodell just officially announced the pick on TV, George Karlaftis, who was in the green room tonight and is coming up on the stage to accept his new Chiefs gear. And we got Marlon laughing in the chat because he told me that he would laugh if he selected Karlaftis. I'll tell you what, he is a powerful guy. He's got a good bull rush. Oh, man. I mean, hey, they came out of the first round with the defensive end. That's what I told them to do. I'm very curious to see what Michael has to say about this. Definitely tells you the Chiefs have a type at defensive end, though. I am hurt, Marlon, because the Chiefs did something I told them not to do. And I have a feeling they'll be picking another defensive end again next year very high. And as Mark says, it's not a bad draft. No, definitely not. Like, I really love the McDuffie pick. I'm mad on Karlaftis, though. I put him in my do not draft in the first round. Granted, you're at pick 30. It's an almost essentially second-round pick. I still think there were better options. Like I said, though, they came out of the first round with a defensive end, and they definitely needed a defensive end. But this is probably my moment where this is my moment I'm going to have. I'm going to be that guy that has a really strong draft take about somebody pre-draft. The team selects the guy that I had a strong feeling for, and I'm either going to look like a complete idiot or everyone's just going to laugh because I said I didn't like him. They picked him and he ended up sucking. My guy Ryan Tracy over at RGR Football also shares the same opinion on Karlaftis as I do. I know he's probably pretty bummed right now. But also, like Dan Harms was telling him, it's going to happen. Of course it happened. That wraps up the first round for the Chiefs, though, unless they were, for some reason, to trade back up into the first round. I do love that Justin Reed is welcoming our new draft pick on Twitter. Connor says, it's frustrating because the team is relying so heavily on the draft for success and taking a player that hardly adds any advantages in the first round is not the way. I mean, yeah, they're putting a lot of eggs into the draft basket, and that was one of my concerns heading into the draft. You know, they got to get on the picks, and they got to get on the picks. And I wasn't sure that they were going to successfully do that. The jury's obviously going to be out on that for a while. Karlaftis, though, again, he's a player that has a high floor, and he does some things well, and he wins with power. But he was a player I wanted to stay away from because I think he's also very good. Matt says, I don't know why KC didn't trade back in for Johnson. Honestly, it's because Jermaine Johnson is overrated. I don't think he's that good of a prospect, and that's why he dropped. I'm not saying he should be a good player in the league, but I think he's a lot more average than people are willing to. Gerald says, great additional help at wideout. Juju and Valdez, Scantling, I'm sure they need it. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll probably pick another receiver tomorrow. I'm sure they really wanted one tonight if they had to. And they decided to shore up the defense. And I am happy with that. Yeah, that's the haul for the Chiefs tonight in the first round. Cornerback Trent Mcduffie out of Washington, and Purdue defensive end George Karlaftis, not a very big surprise. looked up on there. And it looks like the Vikings are going to take Lewis Seed. So run of safety to end the first round. Two really good players. Michael Skinny, the OK. He's coming on here in a few minutes. On Michael Darcy, his sports report on to talk about the defense. I'm curious what my guys up at Archie or football are saying about Karlofsky today. Honestly, guys, looking at what the Chiefs did tonight, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a little bit better, especially with that last pick, picking up Karlofsky. I just don't love the explosiveness, don't love the athletic upside. High floor, though. I'll have to get over it. I'll get him a chance. I mean, believe me, I hope to God that George Karlofsky turns out to be the next TJ Watt. I would be so happy if that's going to happen. But I just don't see that kind of ceiling. I see it very close. I like George's high floor, and she's getting a reliable starter here coming in. And you know what? I can agree with that. They needed someone that can come in and help in year one at edge, and they can still grab a high ceiling guy with one of their next picks. Arnold Epichetti is one that I really, really like. I hope he's available. Also, Steve will be one to watch tomorrow. George Pickens still has to be picked. We will have to see. But the Chiefs were able to fill a couple needs. That's not what at least, I mean, it could have been worse. At least they didn't pick a tackle. I really did not want them to pick a tackle. Nathan Barnes, what's up, man? Wish you were back on Twitter and more active, but nice to see you in the shed. This was an excellent first day of the beach. Like I said, could have been worse. Could have been a little bit better. Not as you can lock this. We'll see. We'll see. They got better, I guess you could say. That's not saying anything. Considering how bad they were. Cornerback. Karlaftis is such a Steve back now. He just is. And I knew it whenever I was watching him. And I bet you Spags was in each year when he was making that pick. I really hope he works out. I really hope Karlaftis works out. For God, we need it. Like, I'm not rooting for him to fail. I know I come off that way sometimes when talking about some Chiefs players. Like, look, if it was up to me, I'd want every guy on our team to be an all-pro. I really hope Karlaftis is good. But I don't love the pick. I don't love it. I would definitely be interested to see what Ryan has to say after watching what he has on his pick of the night later on. Looks like Michael is just popped in. So I'll go ahead and add him.
What's going on, everybody?
What's up, Michael? How you
I'm doing all right. You know, the Chiefs didn't get that receiver, but I think they did fairly well for the first round. They got corner. They invested highly in a corner, and they got George Karlaftis, a defensive end that, you know, I haven't done a ton of research on personally, but Lucas has been just awing over this dude for months, and I trust Lucas a lot.
I'll tell you what.
I'm excited about it.
I love the McDuffie pick because, well, for the reasons I said on my Twitter, actually. He fills a massive need. Good college career at Washington. Young and athletic. And you didn't have the price to trade up for him was not all that much. He was a good player, good pick. George Karlaftis, to me, I am not super high on him. I did not want him. I actually made a video the other day, earlier this week, talking about players I would not want the Chiefs to take in the first round. And George Karlaftis, of all people, is on that list. And the reason I say that is because he is very mediocre athleticism. He doesn't have much bend or agility. And he has a very low ceiling. That said, he has a high floor, and I can see why Lucas likes him. But I just don't see a super high ceiling for him, man. I'm not a huge fan.
So you're staticky. I don't know why you're staticky. I'm gonna leave and try to figure this out. Oh. That sounds a lot better. I don't know what that was.
Okay, sorry. There was a comment just now that also said something about static. I've been having that problem for some reason with this microphone, but hopefully that's better.
That's a game changer. I can hear you. I tried to power through it in the beginning. We're good now. What were you asking?
Well, okay, so here's the thing.
Love
the McDuffie pick. Love the McDuffie pick because he's a good player, had a good college career. Athletic, fills a massive need. We needed a cornerback very badly. And you didn't have to, the price to trade up for him wasn't too steep. However, George Karlaftis, on the other hand, I don't love the pick because I made a video earlier this week saying George Karlaftis is a do not draft in the first round because he has no bend, he has no agility. I know why Lucas likes him though. Or I can see why he does because Karlaftis does win with power and he was very solid at Purdue. I just don't think he has a very high ceiling and he just screams typical Spags defensive end that isn't going to get that sack production that we need in the NFL.
Well, isn't that typical Spags defensive end, like 6'7", 250, and is a freak athlete? Like, I think this guy kind of breaks out of that mold. Like I said, I haven't done a ton of research, but I think that when you look at it, who else could we have picked for a defensive end right there to get that value? Maybe trade up for Jermaine Johnson, but I kind of have my question marks about him because he was
I don't love Jermaine Johnson either.
He was like a top 15 projected pick or something like that. He slipped a long way.
Yep. Yeah. Well, see, the thing with Karlaftis is he's a power rusher, which is what Spags likes. Like he wins with power. Um, but I wanted someone that could maybe win with speed a little bit more. I would have really enjoyed Arnold Ebiketie there at the end of the first round. But he could still be available tomorrow, and I don't think Karlaftis is the only defensive end that the Chiefs will add in this draft. And also, Karlaftis, like others have pointed out in the comments, he is someone that could probably come in and produce in year one, which is definitely something the Chiefs needed on this defensive line. They needed someone that could help out in year one.
Yeah, for sure. And from what I've actually seen and heard of him, he's a really good dude. Like, not that that really matters, but he's a good locker room presence, and he's just a solid dude. I called him the Greek Freak on Twitter because that's what I've been hearing. I think for as much as we bang the table and say we need this guy, this guy, this guy, like I think it's funny because there were people who were adamantly against George Karlaftis, and I really didn't have a stance. I'm gonna be honest with you in a minute, but I think that George Karlaftis was probably the right pick at that point. But getting back to my honesty is this is one of the first years that I just have not had time to scout these players. I
Yeah.
know the names. I haven't done any research. I know the positions of need. I know value of position of need. If the Chiefs would have taken an offensive tackle with that 30th pick, I probably would have thrown my phone through the screen. That's overkill. But a defensive end in that position, they actually spent resources to get a cornerback. And so far that I enjoy what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I saw you tweet on Twitter, and I retweeted it, and I'm saying the same thing. The Chiefs had to come out of the first round tonight with a defensive end.
Yeah.
They just had to. They needed a defensive end. You look at the room and what they have: Frank Clark, Josh Kando, Mike Dana. I mean, they had to add a defensive end. It was going to be really hard. I mean, the plan had to have been really, really good after the first round if they weren't going to pick a defensive end tonight because they need bodies and they need talent.
For sure. And I know a lot of people are upset that they didn't use that pick to draft McDuffie, that they would have rather taken a defensive end. I think they took a corner because they knew the Bills were going to take a corner. That's what I think happened.
Yeah, and that's why, because I at first when I did my live reaction on here, I was like, "Wow, I'm shocked they traded up for a cornerback." Not only because it doesn't fit the Brett Veach mold, but also because I don't think they had to trade up to get McDuffie. But then I saw the Bills take Kyer Elam, and I saw that the Cowboys wanted Elam, and so the Bills grabbed him before they could. So there was going to be a run of cornerbacks there. The Chiefs jumped in front of the Bills to get McDuffie. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have gotten him.
Yeah. Oh, and really quickly, let's talk about the run on wide receivers.
Yeah.
I tweeted it out after the second one got picked. We were just going to see wide receiver after wide receiver get picked. AJ Brown got traded to the Eagles mid-draft, got $100 million contract. All of this stuff happened so quickly. And I thought that at the time, the Chiefs already, at 20, maybe it was 22, or maybe it was 30. I thought that the Chiefs should not have gone wide receiver because the value just wasn't there. Okay, if you could get Olave at 22, or if you get Garrett Wilson maybe at 22, or someone fell, you couldn't get anybody worth taking at 22 or 30, in my opinion. They made the right selections and not reaching for a wide receiver because I'm going to be honest, I don't think wide receivers is as big of a problem as everyone's saying it is. Obviously, you're missing Tyreek Hill, but we are in a lot better shape than the Packers are. A lot better shape.
Well, the thing with receiver is that they have more quality guys now than they had even when they had Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was amazing, but what you had behind him wasn't great. I can live with McCole, MBS, and Juju. I still think they need another quality option, though. But there still are quality options in this draft, good value in the second round. George Pickens has not been selected yet. Sky Moore, I think, is a reasonable second round pick. I think Christian Watson is a reasonable second round pick. There's still guys out there. There's still guys available. And I think they will grab a receiver in this draft.
Sorry, what you cut off at the end? What did you say?
I think they will take a receiver in this draft at some point, and there's
Oh
still
yeah,
there's still
I
value
think
out there.
they'll take one tomorrow. Like I'm
Yeah,
fairly sure they'll take one tomorrow, and I think that they might take two in the next 2 days. But I think that right now we need to feel very lucky that coming out of this first day, we got our edge rusher, at least one of them, and we got a corner. We really needed a corner because we had L'Jarius Sneed and Rashad Fenton as our only active cornerbacks worthy of starting on the roster. You developed some great talent there, basically using fourth and fifth round draft picks. And now around talent coming to the secondary, I'm excited about it. But Josh, I have a question for you.
yeah.
What do you think is a reasonable expectation for George Karlaftis? Because we're going to judge the defensive line a lot more than the secondary. And I want to know, in your thoughts, what is a reasonable stat line for a rookie?
I think that probably around 20 tackles, 5 sacks, and 15 to 20 pressures, somewhere around there would be a real good rookie year for someone like George Karlaftis. I think the Chiefs need that, but I also think they need more than that, which is why I think and I hope that they're not done at defensive end either in this draft. Especially because I think Karlaftis is a lower ceiling type of player. He can come in here and contribute in year one, like I said, but I think he has limitations, and we're going to see those limitations rather early. I mean, he's got a good motor. He can win with power, as I've been saying since the pick has been made. But I have concerns about his ability to bend around the edge, his agility, his arm length is also another concern. He's considered, his arms are considered shorter. And when you're a defensive end with arms like that, of his size, of his stature, and you're trying to win with power, rep after rep after rep, that is really hard to do. But we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I hope he's good. I really hope he's good because the Chiefs need him to be good.
Yeah. I think that the best way to summarize it is it was a great start. They shouldn't be done, but it's a good start. And I think your stat line's perfect. I think 5 sacks for a rookie is reasonable. I think he can do it. I mean, he's got the first round price tag on him. I think if he put up 6 sacks, if he hits 7, it's a great rookie season. Like that is something that I would sign up for right now. But I hope not done. Like they need to keep adding guys.
Yep, I agree. And there's plenty of guys still left. Also, interior defensive line. I wouldn't rule out the Chiefs bringing in someone on the interior. Travis Jones, Perion Winfrey, those guys are also still available heading into day 2. And something that I kind of skipped over is, well, I mean, you touched on it, but I didn't elaborate much. The Eagles trading for A.J. Brown. That's yet another wide receiver who has been traded from their team that was looking for a contract extension. Deebo Samuel's another one. He hasn't been traded yet, but we know he's requested a trade, and it looks like he's going to be out pretty soon here. I think that now with the way things have unfolded, the Chiefs were smart to trade Tyreek Hill because now the way of the league is trading these receivers that want huge money, quarterback money almost. You're seeing these other teams go, okay, we'll trade you and then we'll draft your replacement. And that's exactly what teams are doing.
I've never seen anything like it. I can't believe these wide receivers are getting paid like quarterbacks. Like A.J. Brown's making $25 million this season. I cannot believe that. Like at this point, I love Tyreek Hill. I would have paid him that money. There is not another guy outside of Tyreek Hill that I would be willing to pay that much money. If we tried to get A.J. Brown and paid $100 million for him, I think you severely lost that contract. Like at this point, you got to go cheap. You got to go young. The draft is full of great players. And I think that, we need to keep in mind that it's very rare that the first receiver taken is the best receiver taken. Like a lot of these really good wide receivers that have kind of popped off. I think A.J. Brown, Deebo, DK, all second-round draft picks.
Yep, that's true.
So we'll see what happens. I'm not a huge Sky Moore fan, but
Me neither.
I think if you could get Pickens in the second, I would sign up for that right now.
Yep, I agree. Pickens is a guy that if they had taken him in the first round tonight, like I would have understood it. Like I think Pickens is a first round type of talent. He's fallen for some rather obvious reasons though. Injury, and also this is a stacked receiver class. I think we can't forget that either. Like the guys that were all taken tonight were probably worthy of their first round selection, and the Chiefs just didn't have the amount of picks or high enough pick to get one of those guys, and they just had other needs too. But they'll get a receiver.
Yeah, I find it very odd that the Lions traded back up to get Jamison Williams at 12 when they have Jared Goff throwing him the football. Like they had a good draft tonight, but they don't have anybody throwing him the ball.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if Jared Goff will be there too much longer.
Yeah.
But Michael, I'll ask you one more question, then I'll probably wrap it up since it's already getting pretty late. I know it's been a long draft night, but do you have any prospects that you see are still on the board that you really think the Chiefs should get or that you really like heading into tomorrow?
I kind of talked about I think Pickens would be a good pick. Christian Watson is also a guy that would be interesting. I think Nakobe Dean's still undrafted, which I would not be against that at all if you could get him. I think if you could pick up a third linebacker, I mean, why not?
If he's best player available, sure.
Exactly. Like, and not trying to counter because I don't know too many prospects, but what would be the point where you do go best player available? Because right now the Chiefs are still trying to pick for need, but if tomorrow you can get like the best possible guy that you know could be a star, but you've already got someone there, like at what point do you take him and not take him?
I think the only positions that you can't take, even if they're the best available on your board, is obviously quarterback, and then any of the offensive line spots, excluding right tackle. I think those are the only positions where it's like, even if they're the best player available, you can't take them. I think anything else is fair game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, tomorrow they can't take offensive tackle tomorrow. Well, I mean, no, they could. In the third, they could. They couldn't in the second. You've got to use those second rounders to get more position, like day one impact players. You could use.
I say tomorrow, the ideal combination would be a wide receiver and another defensive end.
If they did that tomorrow, I don't want to say we've won, but that's very good. Like I would sign up for that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a successful first 2 days of the draft. Also, I want to address this comment I got here last minute from Caden. What would have been the pick if it wasn't Karlaftis? And if you're asking me, I probably would have went Arnold Ebiketie. I really like him, but seems like the league thinks of him more as a day 2 prospect, which is fine. They could still get him tomorrow, but we'll see.
Honestly, the pick that I would have gone with, which would not have been, I guess, would not have probably been received well after taking McDuffie. I would have gone with Daxton Hill. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I think you can always use DBs. I think if you take a safety like that with the 30th overall pick, I wouldn't have complained at all.
And Daxton Hill can play cornerback too. It would just well, and I said that earlier too about the McDuffie pick. Like McDuffie is a guy who can play multiple cornerback spots. Daxton Hill can play all over the field. Juan Thornhill has played multiple spots. He played cornerback in college. L'Jarius Sneed played safety in college. Justin Reed has played free and strong safety. You got so many guys that can do so many things.
Yeah, and we're talking so much about, the Chiefs need to get this defensive end or that defensive end. I think that they're going to try to, steady the storm and get some more guys in. They'll take another one before the draft concludes. I think there could be a heavy dose of post-draft pickups with some veteran free agent defensive ends. Melvin Ingram's still out there.
Yeah.
I think if you give him an offer, he would come back. I think Jerry Hughes is also like they could make an offer to some other defensive ends and at least bolster the roster with more bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's pretty much all I got for you, Michael. I was definitely looking forward to hear your opinions on the two prospects that the Chiefs picked up tonight. But we'll have to get the three of us back together, me, you, and
Yes.
Lucas, and talk about these picks whenever we can. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you, man.
Yeah, I'll make sure to do more research. Like I don't like coming in underprepared. From what I have seen though, like I really like the McDuffie pick a lot. Like
Yeah.
I think he is going to be really good given our track history with developing cornerbacks. They finally spent a big time resource on acquiring one. I think with his talent too and his versatility, he's special. But yeah, I'll do more research and we'll definitely get together with the three of us.
Yeah, sounds good. All that being said, you want to let the people know where they can find you?
Sure thing. I'm going to give a brief version because I feel like I'm talking like Patrick Mahomes with my throat tonight. You can go follow me on Twitter. That is at KC Sports Report. Find me on YouTube. That is just at KC Sports Report. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, guys, you go and do that. I will leave it in the description after I'm done tonight. But make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And I will see all of you guys hopefully tomorrow night for the new Chiefs selection. So we'll see you all later.